All right. We are checking settings really quick. All right. I'm noticing a little bit of buffering on my end. My apologies, you guys. I think we're good. All right, that should be good. If you do notice any buffering, anything with the stream, if you go ahead and refresh your browser, that usually does the trick. Welcome, you guys. Happy Sunday. Hope everyone is doing well this weekend. Hope you're all having a wonderful time. Let's go ahead. We'll jump in here in just 2 shakes. I'd like to give it just a second to allow people to come on in. Got a lot of familiar faces and new faces alike. Wonderful. Hello, Amy, Patricia, Maritza, May, Yara. Oh, I'm so excited too. To get started. Finally managed to make it. Yay. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. All right. Francesca, hello. Sweet Sloth. Sarah, welcome, you guys. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I do have a little bit of a shorter window today, so I want to not waste any time. So go ahead and jump on in. Let me just double check something really fast. All right. Okay, we are good. Again, welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope the weekend is treating you fabulously. I hope your day is going great. Or morning, evening, wherever in the world you may be. And thank you again for joining me for another round of Q&As where we just hang out, we talk about the law, and as always, I'm here to help answer your questions, shed light, gain clarity so that you can learn to apply these in your world to see the transformations that you desire to see. As far as anything to note or announcements go, just double checking my notes. If you are interested in working together or in any of my resources, my workshops or coaching programs or masterclasses, all that information is down below. I did see someone in the chat. Let me find them really quick. Sorry, guys, one sec. Yunk, yes, I did see that you had signed up for email coaching. If you double check and make sure that you sent the initial email to the right email address. The instructions for email coaching, like next steps and what to do after you've checked out, are on the page where you signed up. So the link is down in my description box. If you go down to that email coaching page, there's instructions, basically what's next. I will double check and make sure that nothing was missed on my end. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and just make sure to forward that email to the email listed there, that would be amazing. And I'll make sure to get back to you today. But my apologies for that. But yeah, email coaching instructions are on the page. It has its own separate email address. So yeah, I will also double check on my end too. We'll get it sorted. With that noted, with that said, go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of great questions already flooding in so far. So without further ado, I'll take this gum out. Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Amy, you've got a really, really good question. Hi, Missy. I've been suffering from mental disease for years, and it's getting worse. Sometimes I can't even get up from bed or clean myself, let alone dealing with my college courses and exams. Been there. I wanted to take a year or two off, but my parents won't let me. I couldn't manage it without them signing the paperwork. I know I should manifest a gap year, but my subconscious mind seems to believe if I do take a year off at home, then my parents would torture me every day, making things worse. I'm afraid my college won't let me back to the college after a gap year due to what they did. I think these worries will make my manifestation harder to happen, or I think what I actually want is to find a way out of this messy situation. And I have to return to college in less than a week. I know we shouldn't limit how it's going to happen, but also makes me unable to live in the end by not knowing what the end is. What scenario should I imagine implying all my problems are solved? Oh, no, that is a good question. And naturally, when you're feeling incredibly stressed, under the gun, um, anxious, fearful, all of the things, it certainly can make the all of this feel that much more challenging, that much more unattainable. What I would be focusing on right now, number one, is just to keep this as simple as possible as far as what to imagine and the application of it, like how you go about imagining. I would try to just keep this as simple and not do anything to overwhelm or anything that may make the anxiety feel worse. So going back to what should you imagine, I would be saying anything that implies that you've had your gap year. So going past that year, perhaps you are returning to school for the, what would that be, 2026 school year? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can always you can imagine a conversation with a friend about how much fun you had taking that year off and you were able to travel, you were able to rest, you were able to relax. I'm personally a huge fan of inner conversations because those are things that I would be doing in the 3D. So it comes most naturally. Make sure that you are just focused right now on if you're noticing anxiety, just helping yourself to breathe through it whenever possible. Just taking nice, slow, deep breaths. You know, help yourself with shutting off the fight or flight response. And sometimes I know it can feel very difficult to do that. Um, but again, this is just to the best of our ability. We want to help ourselves to get into as much of a relaxed state, a drowsy state, even meditation. Meditation is a game changer. But as far as what to imagine or what should you be imagining, I would be just going to the end, not because we're not going to know exactly how the other things pan out. We don't need to try to meddle or condition with the desire. Just allow yourself to have that experience in imagination. That implies that you had your year off, you're getting ready to go back after your year off, and that it was incredibly recharging for you. It was beneficial in so many ways for you. Yeah. I know it can be difficult, but remember to help yourself to breathe, help yourself to anything that will help you to ease on the nerves a little bit, and then going to that end where you've already had the gap year and it was amazing. Yeah. Hmm. Going back up. Patricia, you've got a great question. And this one's a little bit touchy for some, but it's an important one nonetheless. Do we really want a thing itself, or do we want a state of mind, a feeling? How do we focus on manifesting a feeling, happiness, love, and not a specific thing? Great question. I mean, the short answer is what we truly desire is the feeling. That's that's ultimately what we want to experience. That's not to take away from the desire for the 3D experience. That's not to take away from the object of desire, be it a person or, wealth, a new house, whatever it might be. It's not to take away, because of course, as humans having this 3D experience, those things are important to us, and there's no denying that. But this is an important question and an important thing to note, because it is ultimately the feeling that we desire, and that's all that we're aiming to conjure in imagination. More or less, that is pretty much the focus, and that is the aim. Helping yourself to get acclimated to that feeling of it, whether that's peace of mind, feeling loved, feeling prioritized, feeling confident, feeling secure, feeling at peace. That's what we really want at the end of the day. Again, we all have some objects of desire. There's external things that we associate with that feeling, but where we want to be careful is the dependency of something external as the source of that feeling we desire, because we can absolutely tap into and conjure that feeling within ourselves. And one great way to do that is something like "Isn't it wonderful?" or the lullaby method. And if you don't know what that is, I've made a video talking about it. One of my earlier videos talking about the lullaby method, but that's essentially where you're focused on a more general feeling instead of a specific scene or a specific person or thing, whatever it might be. You're just allowing yourself to get lost in the feeling of having everything that you want. So the state of gratitude, the state of satisfaction, the state of abundance, that kind of a thing. And definitely check out the video that I made on the lullaby method if you haven't seen it yet. That one's the go-to of mine. Probably more than anything else is what I use. Isn't it wonderful? You guys are so sweet. Hi, Missy. If I'm not robotically affirming all day, how can I make sure I'm putting enough focus and attention on my desire in order for it to manifest? Good question. Really good question. So, one thing that we can do is just practice self observation, practice the increased awareness into what state you're occupying, where you are dwelling, basically. What are the moods that you're noticing in the day to day? What are the thoughts coming up in the day to day? Just observing and seeing what that is. And again, it's all what comes up naturally. We're not trying to force anything here. But through the observation, that's our gauge, and that's what's going to basically tell us if we are, in fact, living in the end or not, if we are more dominantly living in our desired state, thinking from our end or not. Um, we don't have to affirm robotically all day, every day. Now, if it's helpful for you, if it's something that you enjoy doing, by all means, but we don't have to micromanage. And that is a really slippery slope for a lot of people, especially if we're still fairly new to this journey. I mean, hell, even people that are more seasoned to it can get stuck in that trap. We do not need to micromanage every thought during the day to day. That will get exhausting very, very fast. But yeah, you can even set reminders. You can set an alarm on your phone to go off at certain times of the day to sort of check in with yourself, so to speak. But it's the self observation and practice increasing that self observation. Hey, Missy, is it really enough to just think about what you would like to have? Um, is it really enough to just think about what it would be like to have what you want to get it to manifest? Yeah, yeah. I mean, so long as we're thinking from it, right? And we're not just thinking of it like it's this far off, distant thing, and we're trying to figure out how to get there. That's thinking of something. That's implying that you are separate from that state. But thinking from the desire, mhm, yeah, yeah. The law is incredibly simple in theory. In theory, that's all there is to it. In practice, though, it might mm, we might find it to be a little bit more challenging, but more or less, yeah, that's it. If I'm not flipping any negative thoughts, does that mean I accept them in my reality? This, if I'm not flipping any negative thoughts, if are you implying? Are you asking if we need to flip the thoughts, or if we don't flip thoughts, then we're just accepting them in? No, no. To be clear, we don't have to flip our thoughts. We don't have to do that. We're having tens of thousands of thoughts every day. And about 80% of those, 80, 90% of those are going to be thoughts from yesterday, most likely, because we're creatures of habit, right? Um, so it can get exhausting really fast. Now, again, just to be clear, if flipping thoughts is helpful for you, if you enjoy it, if you find it beneficial, then by all means. Um, if any practice here is benefiting you and helping you, then do that. But do we have to flip our thoughts? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, no. All we really need to do, our thoughts are just feedback. That's really all there is to it. And in fact, if we are flipping our thoughts, we may not be as observant. Like we may be just trying to shove things down and suppress them, and things might be going under the radar. Whereas if we are just observing without judgment, to be clear, just observation, just see them for what it is, it's just feedback. That's going to help give you the best idea of what state you're occupying more than not. But no, if it feels like a chore, don't do it. Don't do it. Is imagining in sats the only way to impress the subconscious mind? Sometimes I really am able to imagine in sats, but other times I just fall asleep. Any tips? That's not the only way. No. Mm-mm. No. I mean, anything that elicits a feeling or a response, anything that elicits a reaction from us can impress the subconscious mind. So if affirmations help to conjure that reaction, if it helps you to really feel into that state, if it's inner conversations, isn't it wonderful? I remember when. I mean, there are many different ways to impress the mind subconsciously. Um, Sats, in my experience and my humble opinion, it is one of the most effective ways if you have a lot of resistance to what you desire. If there's a lot of resistance to imagining your wish fulfilled, it can be very helpful for that. But it's not the only way. No. Symptoms, welcome back. It's been a minute, my friend. Hi, Mina. I'm embodying effortlessness. Yes, good, 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 good. Missy, you don't talk about vibrations much, if ever. I hear many law of assumption coaches speak about raising our vibrations as part of the laws of the universe in order to manifest successfully. um, yeah, no, I mean, and However anybody wants to teach this is fine. But that is a lot of language used in the law of attraction. Law of attraction, you'll frequently hear the terms vibration or frequency, raising your vibration to match the thing that you want. I'm not big on the law of attraction. There's similarities, of course. They're very similar schools of thought, but where they're different is huge. Um, I've found Neville's teachings have been the ones that have resonated the most and have, without a question, produced the best results, have created the most change in my life. So that's primarily what I teach. Um, so, I mean, but again, if you resonate with that kind of teaching and language of raising your vibration, if you find it helpful, I'm not knocking it. For me, it was just kind of confusing as hell. Because I, yeah, it implies that you need to be happy, and it can quickly go into the realm of toxic positivity if we are not careful. Um, so I've made a lot of videos really emphasizing that manifestation is not needing to be chipper and happy and, you know, up here all the time. Not at all. We can absolutely manifest when we're in a irritated mood, when we're in a bad mood even. Yeah. So I'm not about the high vibes. That's just personal. That's just, yeah. I've heard plenty of times to raise my vibration and why, but without being told what that even means or looks like. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, me too. All right, going back to the top. Where's my spot? I'm getting distracted. Serene Goddess, feeling great. Applying the law made my life so much better. Now I feel remorse for all the pain I felt in my 20s, like that I missed out on life. Did you also feel that, and how can I overcome it? Aw, absolutely. Yeah, there was a part of me that felt that remorse and just overall kind of bittersweet. Like I was incredibly thankful to find the law and at a fairly young age, um, but it felt like years wasted. I had all this anger and all of this just sadness that had built up over the years. Revision helped me with that. I imagined myself living a fuller life in my younger years before finding the law. That's where I would go into imagination and I would put myself there. So, and it got me to a place where I was able to sort of detach from that. And the way I also look at it is there are people that will never, in this lifetime at least, find out about the law. So it's never such a thing as too late or finding it too late. Not a thing. But yeah, if you're finding difficulties with that, what would that word even be? Yeah, that remorse or feeling like you got left out on life a bunch of years. Revision. What would it have been like if you grew up knowing this law? If you had been taught this from childhood? Go there. Angie, I'm excited too. Definitely. Okay. Make sure to check your spam folders and all that fun stuff. I'll go ahead and make a note and resend that email to you. My apologies for that. But I'm looking forward to getting started too. Happy Sunday, Missy. What is your take on inner child work, as in soothing your abandoned slash wounded younger self? Is it another form of self concept work, revision, or just a buzz phrase? I mean, before I knew about the law of assumption, I had done some inner child work, inner child healing. It did help, but the thing that worked best for me, bar none, was revision. So instead of soothing my younger self, I imagined my younger self. I put myself in that state when I was a child. I would go back in there in imagination, only this time experiencing the things that I would have wanted to experience, right? Mainly the love and support from my parents, right? Peers, mentors, teachers, the people around me that I looked up to naturally. Growing up in that old story, there was a lot of abandonment wounds. There was a lot of fears of rejection. There was a lot of insecurities. So I would go back and imagine, basically construct memories that would create new memories that would imply that life was very different, that I did grow up with support, that I did grow up with encouragement, that I did grow up feeling supported by my parents. Yeah. So that was, for myself personally, that helped more than anything, hands down. But again, to be clear, if inner child healing, if any of that helps you, if you find it beneficial for you, yeah, yeah, full steam ahead. Sure thing. Doing that right now, Angie. All right, Angie, I just put the email in the chat. Um, and I'll go ahead and double check on my end and make sure, if I need to resend it, I'll make sure to do that right after we hop off the live here. I'm excited. I'm excited to get started. All right, where's my spot? Missy, someone said if we imagine it day and night, it will still happen, even if we doubt it all day. What is this? How do we know our subconscious accepted it as true also? Good question, Mystical. So, initially, especially before we've really built up faith in this law, before we've really built up our trust in this, we're gonna have doubts. We're gonna have some double-mindedness because these teachings go against everything that we've ever been taught. Quite literally, it's the opposite. Your imagination is reality, and the 3D is just the mirror of it. It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of take in and accept right away. So before we really have that solid faith, before we've bought that pearl, so to speak, we are going to have doubts. I'm just going to say it. We're going to doubt. We're going to question. I always tell people, like, Neville's story about Barbados, right? As kind of a reference point. Neville absolutely had doubts when he was new at this, when he was learning under Abdullah. It's going to happen. Um, it's the important thing is where you occupy dominantly. So what state you are occupying most often. So yes, if there's wavering, like that's what the imaginal acts are for, is to begin to strengthen that conviction, is begin to recondition that belief. So we have less and less of the double-mindedness, but ultimately it's about where we dwell more often than not. We want to make the desired state the dominant one. So, and we'll know that everything's been sort of accepted and impressed subconsciously because our thoughts will change, our reactions will change, our moods will change. Like we're going to feel very different around whatever it is that we desire. So there's going to be less intrusive thoughts, if any. Or if there are intrusive thoughts, there's not going to be reaction to them because there's no attachment there anymore. So that's why I say, instead of making the 3D a gauge, we are using our inner world as a gauge, and specifically how we are feeling in the day to day. Hope that makes sense. Affirming for Affirming for the love of my life, my ex with whom I was for 6 years feels like I'm ungrateful for those who are in my current reality. I'm currently dating someone but don't feel what I had with my ex. In hindsight, I know everything that went wrong was me pushed out. I don't know what to do. Mm. Yeah, I know that is a frustrating feeling. I mean, in the first part where affirming or imagining for your desire feels like you're ungrateful for those who are in your current reality. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. We can absolutely have gratitude for the things that we have, but also still have a desire for something. You know what I mean? It's not black and white. It's not, oh, if I desire this person, that means I'm ungrateful for everything else. Like we can absolutely get ourselves to a place where it doesn't have to be that polar, so to speak. And in fact, focusing on maybe using "Isn't it wonderful" to occupy a state of gratitude or a state of satisfaction may be helpful in that area. Because and I understand that everybody is going to feel different, but even objectively speaking, it certainly does not mean that you're ungrateful for everything else. No. Mm-mm. I'm currently dating someone, but I don't have what I In hindsight, I know everything that went wrong was me pushed out. I don't know what to do. Continue to go to the end. Practice going to the end. And if you are still, if you're noticing a lot of resistance, if you're noticing a lot of pushback or fears and doubts, I would play around with different ways of imagining. Um, if you're, if it feels difficult to capture that wish fulfilled feeling, that completeness, that satisfaction, if it feels difficult to reach that through affirmations alone, introduce visualization, introduce inner conversations, especially in those drowsy periods in the morning and before bed. But play around with different ways that you can use your imagination to really capture that essence, that state where the two of you are together again until you feel no longer the need to go there, until you feel satisfied. Yeah. It takes a bit of adjusting and getting used to. You will get there. Isn't it wonderful just doesn't resonate. That's okay. That's why I say everyone is going to be different. Everyone is going to be different. That's why if a certain technique doesn't really do it for you, if it's not your thing, if you're having difficulty with it, play around. There's many different ways. Our imagination is vast. There is so many ways to imagine. There's so many things that we can do to enjoy that end state, so to speak. But the one thing that I will say that will benefit everyone is if we just make sure that we are doing this when we're in as a relaxed state as possible, or at the very least, when we're not anxious and wound up very tight. I am in Barbados. That's right. Where's my spot? Oh, sweet sloth. I've noticed my ego backlashes are less intense than before. I don't care about them as much. I don't know if it's a matter of progress or if I'm just starting to care less about SB because a lot of time has passed. I would say it's the former. It's the first one. We can always The way to know if you still want your person or not is to ask yourself the question of, if my person showed up at the door right this moment, if right now I heard the doorbell go off and it was my person and they wanted to get back together, would you say yes? And if the answer is yes, then you still have the desire. Or there's still that feeling there for them, I should say. That's kind of our gauge, because when we do move into the Sabbath, there's going to be considerably less of that desiring or that wanting. That's going to fade considerably. So I know at first it can feel a bit jarring. It could feel kind of weird, maybe even alarming. It's normal. And I'm really happy to hear that the ego backlash is less intense. And that's what I really try to emphasize. It's not going to continue to be that intense. Like, yes, ego backlash is awful. It's terrible. It sucks. But once it subsides and we go back to that end and we continue to do so, it's going to fade. It's going to, as far as the backlash goes, it's going to diminish. It's not going to continue to be like that because you're getting more and more acclimated to that new state. You're beginning to be more familiar with it. It's not going to be so new and scary and something to, go into self-defense mode over. That's a good thing. Those are all good things. Yeah. Sorry, guys. One sec. A little bit of buffering on. Bear with me. Sorry, let me check something really fast. Francesca, you were so sweet. It was wonderful to have you here. All right, there we go. How do you feel about a relationship if you never had one? Good question. So, if the things that we desire are things that we haven't experienced yet in the physical, we may not be able to go off of memory or firsthand experience, but we at least have an idea of what that would be like. So basically, how would it feel and be like for you, the idea of being in a relationship? And you're allowing yourself to go there. You're allowing yourself to play with the concept and imagination and really allow yourself to get familiar with it. Like, what would you be doing together? What are the things that you desire to experience in a relationship? How do you see your partner? What are their traits? What are their qualities? What are their charms? That kind of thing. We're allowing ourselves to, like, perpetuate this world, really flesh it out. Because the more that we play in imagination, we're going to see that it is truly endless and limitless. Yeah. Hi, Missy. I'm not going to try so hard to win the lottery. I'm going to feel what it would be like to be abundant in everything in my life. Is this the right mindset to live in the end? Personal opinion, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If what you desire is abundance, if you desire financial freedom, just allow yourself to tap into that. Go to the end of that. So, what would your life look like if you had all the money you could ever want or need. Like, what would be different? Would you have a house? Two houses? Three houses? Would you have a private jet? Would you like how would your world look? And just really allow yourself to go there. A lot of times we like gravitate to the idea of a lottery win because it seems like that's the only way to acquire a large sum of money really quickly. That's not true. And we're trying to figure out the means to the end in a lot of those cases than actually going to the end. I mean, that said, if you do desire the experience of a lottery win, nothing wrong with that. But if what you desire ultimately is to be abundant and financially secure, then I would just go there. I would just go straight there. Mhm. Oh, sweet slut, you are so. Your name is fitting because you are very sweet. It is good to have you here. Good to have you here, my friend. Missy, my SP bought me 150-pound Ugg boots. I was totally surprised. Obviously, this is the law working behind the scenes. He obviously was thinking of me. Absolutely. Absolutely, he was. That's awesome, Francesca. Yeah. Count that as a win. Count that as a win. Keep going to the end, of course. But I would 100% count that as a win. That's really sweet of him. Aw. Allison, you got a good question. I was able to manifest a text from him and didn't push to continue the conversation. I thought I did well, but then I had a bad day and looked at social media. Can you talk about coming back to focus? Yes, absolutely. Um, I mean, first, bad days are going to happen. That's part of the human experience. We're going to have days that feel less great than others. It happens. We have moments of weakness. We break down, we check the 3D, we check social media, we go into sleuth mode and see what they're doing. We've all been there. We've all been there. And anyone who says they haven't is lying. We want to give ourselves grace. We want to ideally not be harsh on ourselves or hard on ourselves when we do have moments where we slip up, where we do have these human moments. Give yourself the grace. And as soon as you become aware of what you are doing, as soon as you become aware, oh wait, I'm checking the 3D. I'm probably shouldn't be doing this right now. That's kind of the first step. And as you continue to increase your awareness, as you continue through self-observation, you're going to be faster and faster of catching yourself and redirecting yourself. One exercise that is amazing for this is something like focused attention meditation. And it's a very simple meditation. It's you can do it for even just a couple of minutes is going to be helpful, but that's going to help with number 1 observation and number 2 redirection. So when we do fall out of the state, when we do catch ourselves wandering back into 3D, we'll be quicker at catching and redirecting. Yeah. But know that everyone does it. So we definitely need to be nice to ourselves because if anyone here is anything like me, I was so mean to myself whenever I screwed up. Screwed up. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm manifesting having a compliment. Aw. Sorry, guys, just trying to find my spot. Check, it's bouncy. How did you become a certified hypnotist? I want to make myself hypnosis tracks to thwart the deep subconscious beliefs that are keeping me stuck, but I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Thanks. Absolutely. Absolutely, Sarah. Personally, I went to the American Psychology Association, the APA, and they had some programs for hypnosis, and I went through that route. If you're interested in actually like doing the program, but I know that there's also some like less extensive, but some of the I'm drawing a blank off the top of my head. I would go through the APA website. They do have a ton of resources. If you don't want to like go through the curriculum or anything like that, they have things that are just kind of like to help you get started in self hypnosis. I think that would be a good place to start. Yeah. Oh, oh, I just, damn it. Where'd it go? Um, I want to go to Korea and become a successful music artist. My SP is in Korea too, and also very successful in the Korean music industry. But I think all the time it's delusional to think, part two, to think this way, and I will never actually get him. It actually triggered me with the superconscious mind to think it's possible to achieve my own biggest dreams and goals. But when it comes to SP, I think it's impossible to manifest someone because of free will, etc. I don't know what I should do. Did you also have doubts that you thought it's impossible to manifest someone? Oh, good question. I mean, at first, yeah. Yeah, before I found out about the law of assumption, because I know in the law of attraction at least, it's very what's the word? It's kind of frowned upon, the idea of manifesting a specific person because of the whole free will thing, blah 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 blah. Um, where this differs, and I take it you're probably new to the law, which in that case, check out my manifestation fundamentals playlist. That one is specifically for people that are new to this law and want to kind of get the points of understanding, like everyone is you pushed out, um, states of consciousness, infinite realities, that kind of a thing. So definitely check out that playlist. But when it comes to other people, there's a term in this community that's used that we want to remember, that is creation is already finished. Every state, every outcome, every possibility, every version of every person already exists, and it exists right now, which means that there is already a state or a reality where you and your person are already together. Period. So this is nothing to do with manipulation of the 3D. This is not about impeding someone's free will. You are just imagining and experiencing that state within you. So the only one you're changing here is you at the end of the day. We're not changing anybody else out here. But again, I know, especially if you're new to the law, it can be a lot to comprehend, and that's totally understandable. But absolutely, I had doubts at first. Yeah. It's very thoroughly conditioned in people that we all have free will. You can't impede on that. But that's not what we're doing here. So yeah, definitely check out that playlist. If I don't believe in scripting and still do it, will my manifestation come true, even without believing it? Um, so when it comes to belief, when it comes to believing it, uh, the whole point of the techniques, the imaginal acts, is to change the belief. Uh, so when we're starting out, it's very likely that we're not going to believe it. Almost, pretty much exclusively, we're not going to believe it. Um, unless we have some pretty solid faith in the law. But that's really the point of the techniques. The point of the techniques is not to change the 3D. Like, that is the byproduct. But the point of the techniques are to change the beliefs, change the assumptions, change how we've been conditioned to think and feel about the things that we desire. So scripting, visualizing, affirmations, any technique is to help you to capture the feeling of it through your creative power, which is your imagination. So at first, yeah, I probably won't believe it very much. That's okay. That's kind of the point. Hi, Missy. In July, SP and I separated because of his depression, and he doesn't feel like he could be a good partner to me. 2 weeks ago, he texted me, said he missed me, and hope I'm well. But part two, but there hasn't been any movement since then. What should I do? During this time, can I go on dates with other people? Can I date other people? Yeah, you can do whatever you would like. There's no hard or fast rules here with dating. I mean, it's going to be, again, different for everyone. Some people have no desire to date others. They're not comfortable with it. They don't want to do it, whatever reason. Others want to live their life, and they're going to do what they do in the 3D, because ultimately it's where you are in imagination. If you are fixed on that end state in here and you just go about your life, it has to come to pass. Has to come to pass. So really it's whatever you would like to do or feel. But what we don't want to do is wait for it or put our life on hold for the manifestation. Because that's a state of anticipation, which is a state of absence, basically. So if you want to go out, live your life, enjoy yourself, have fun, hang out with your friends, meet new people, absolutely no harm in that. But it's up to you, ultimately. What was the first part again? There hasn't been any movement since then. Go back to the end in imagination. The habit we have to break here, guys. The one habit we have to break here is checking the 3D and letting ourselves get lost and wrapped up again in the 3D. I mean, yes, we're going to be observant of the 3D, obviously, but we do not need to wrap ourselves up in it. If we are noticing that we're getting fixed again on the 3D, if we're focusing on what they're doing externally, it's time to redirect. It's time to come back. Go back to the ends. 70 times 7. Will this be on YouTube for a replay? Yes. Yes. You will absolutely be able to come back and watch this again whenever you would like. I am doing great with self-concept masterclass. It'd be great if we could find an accountability partner. Oh, absolutely. I'm glad that you're enjoying the class so far. I'm glad. And as far as accountability partners, yes, it could be really helpful to have one of those. I know that if you're looking for somebody to talk to, and even maybe hold each other accountable, have somebody, a manifestation buddy, so to speak, there's plenty of things like Facebook groups, ways that you can connect with people on social media. So I would definitely join some groups, start interactions, because there's quite a few people that are looking to connect with others and on keeping each other accountable on this journey. I love it. Hi, Missy. Can you please tell why exes or others get drawn to you when you are manifesting a specific person? Is this a sign that your manifestation is near? Good question. This is a very common phenomenon. Yes. In this community, it's referred to as birds before land, where essentially, when you are imagining desiring a specific person, other people start showing up in ways that you want your person to show up. It is incredibly common. And that's because we are reconditioning our self concept around relationships. We are imagining ourselves in a more loving relationship. We are feeling more and more into the state of being chosen and prioritized. And so naturally, we're going to see that reflected in the 3D. You're going to start to notice other people showing up, giving you compliments, being nicer to you. You might have exes come out of the woodwork. Completely normal. And it's because of the inner work that you're doing. It's what you have been imagining. Is this a sign that your manifestation is near? I've made a video talking about signs. I've made, I think, 2 videos now talking about signs, manifestation signs. I would definitely check those out if you haven't seen them yet. But we want to be careful about looking for signs. And this is really coming back to checking the 3D, because signs follow, they don't precede. You're not going to see signs of the manifestation before it comes in. You're going to see it in hindsight. You're going to see how the bridge unfolded after it's happened. But we're experiencing and choosing and selecting states in moment to moment to moment. So, is it a good indication that there's change taking place within you? Yes, absolutely. But I would continue to go to that end in imagination. I would keep your focus as fixed as you can on that wish fulfilled state until you are naturally inclined to drop it, or essentially in the Sabbath, or until the 3D unfolds for you perfectly. But yeah, very, very normal. Yara is cool. Yes, she is. Any theories as to why some people get scammed if they believe the scammer was good? That is an excellent question. So, if something kind of appears opposite of what you had thought, or maybe you thought somebody was a good person and they turned out to scam you, or essentially be a bad person, um, these instances are why it's important to utilize self observation. Because for this specific example, it could be that you have a more general belief around people and that people can't be trusted, people are untrustworthy. You know, you got to watch out for scammers. Like the general concepts that we hold about even society at large, all of those play a role in how things unfold for you. So we become to get familiar with what those concepts and beliefs are, the more that we observe our thoughts, our reactions, our interactions in the 3D, all of that. It's all feedback telling you what you are naturally assuming and believing is true for both specific things, specific people, and things in general. So, yeah. Francesca. You see, your office is twice the size of my house. It just means I can host all of you for a party. What? Y'all are invited. Everyone's invited over. When working on self concept, is affirming enough? E.g., I am enough, beautiful, smart, etc. Or what's the best way to work on getting better self concept? Excellent question. I mean, it can be. The important question is, how do you feel? How does it feel when you affirm? As in, are you noticing any responses? Are you eliciting any feelings? Does it feel good? Does it feel that like warmth? Are you noticing any sensations in your body? Like those are what we mean by feeling. Like having it feel natural, essentially. So if that is the case, if it is eliciting those responses within you, if you are noticing like it is helping you to feel natural to be those things that you're affirming, then yeah. What's the best way to work on getting self concept? This is a tough question because again, it's going to be different for everybody. Everyone's going to be different in the ways that they imagine. For example, some people are going to be preferring visualization. Some people, they can visualize, they can really see and construct scenes in their mind. And that's what really helps them to tap into the realness of it. Other people go for affirmations or inner conversations. So there's different things that resonate for different people. Um, but the best way to work on self concept is whatever feels most natural, least resistant to you. Keynote: least resistance, path of least resistance. Yeah. You guys are sweet. Ah, yes, the classic sign of manifestation, the BBL. Yeah. The classic. Mm-hmm. I know we desperately want to look for signs. Don't get stuck down that rabbit hole. Do you believe in birds before land? I mean, absolutely. You will see things outpictured as you begin to imagine them. So if you are, deliberately imagining a state where you are feeling loved and chosen and prioritized, if that is where you're occupying internally in the day to day, you're going to see that reflected. You're going to start to notice a change in how other people show up for you. 100%. Do I believe that it's a sign that the final manifestation is going to happen? No. No, because signs follow. Signs follow. Continue to go to the end. David, hello, sir. Hello. Take a sip. I need 10K. Darren, you should be loaded by now. Good thing, sir. Yes. Breathing exercises are life. They're life. They will give you life. Yes. Kelly, hi. If you're still here, you might have sent that a long time ago. Hey, Missy, what if I just feel neutral during my imaginal acts? I mean, that's not inherently a bad thing. It really depends on what you are imagining. Like, what is the scene, or you know, I guess the theme? No, it depends on what you're imagining, right? Um, for example, if you are imagining something like your wedding day and walking down the aisle, that's probably going to, I would imagine, elicit a strong feeling or emotion within you. There would be a lot of emotions. Things would be running pretty high. Um, that said, if you're imagining, hanging out on the couch with your person after you've been married for a while and you're just hanging out, not just having a married life, probably going to feel pretty neutral. Not going to be fireworks and excitement. And that's an important thing to note. It doesn't have to be strong emotions necessarily. When we say feel the wish fulfilled, that doesn't mean like we need to be exploding with all the amazing things. It just means, what would this experience be like if this was taking place for you right now? So, yes, essentially the naturalness of it. So, again, it really depends on what scene you are imagining. And if you are finding it difficult to elicit a strong emotional response, then I would stick to something that is a bit more natural. The two of you are hanging out on vacation, or you're going grocery shopping, or you're sitting at the breakfast table enjoying a cup of coffee. It's subtle, it's peaceful. Yeah. Do, 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 do. I really enjoy these live. It's like a recap of my studies of the week. Love it. Love it. Recap of all the things that you have learned. Yes. No pressure, though. No pressure. Hi, Missy. I'm new here. Welcome, Blueberries. I love your username. When working on self and focusing on me, combos for my desired end with SP keep popping up. Mhm. Should I entertain them or dismiss and solely focus on me? I mean, if they feel good, absolutely entertain them. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if they're coming naturally and they feel enjoyable, if you're having fun with it. Yeah. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Because when we say focus on you, that means focus on how you want to feel. Focus on how it would feel, even if that includes your person. Like if you and your person are together, hanging out, doing whatever, how would that feel, right? So ultimately, it's you're focusing on that version of you who already has what you desire, who already is the person you want to be. That's what that means. So if that includes conversations that you would be having with your person from that new state, then 100% you can entertain that, and you should. Hi, Missy. Is imagining saying to a spouse or loved one, I told you it works, a good scene? I love it. I love it. That's clever. I think that's awesome. Hi, Missy. I have a question. Why often do we manifest things not exactly what we have imagined? Partial manifestation or something different? Good question. So, I made a video about partial manifestations. As per usual, I don't remember the exact title off the top of my head, but i- partial manifestations stem from us kind of going back and forth. We lose focus of the end state in imagination, and we begin to veer off into the 3D. So as it begins to unfold, we immediately fix our attention on the 3D and basically kind of waver a little bit. Um, what if we manifest things often we have imagined? Yeah. Yeah, definitely check out the video I made about partial manifestations. I mean, even if it appears to be partial, just keep going to the end. That's your feedback to continue to go back to that end. Kelly, you've got great questions as always. As always. Hi, Missy. You said in a video a big issue we have is when we get out of an imaginal act, we fail to realize that just really happened. When I get out of SATs, I do tell myself it was real, but sometimes I feel like I'm lying to myself. That's normal. Does that go away as we keep imagining? Mhm. Also, when you knew it was done with hubby, what were your day-to-day thoughts like in the 3D? Good questions. Yeah, this can be at first, yeah, it's typical. We don't need to try to force ourselves to believe it per se. But yeah, the more that we become acclimated to going to that end in SATs, basically when we experience it with tones of reality, it can help with that. But even if the tones of reality aren't fully fleshed out in there, like two things are going to happen. Number one, with building faith, you're going to naturally accept more and more that imagination is reality. Like that's just going to go hand in hand because that is effectively what Neville's teachings is all about. That's what the law is all about. What you are imagining is no less real than the 3D world, which is a very difficult thing to accept at first, understandably so. So it is quite normal that we don't have that full conviction at first. That will change as your faith continues to grow and as you continue to stretch and exercise that imagination muscle, so to speak. So I would absolutely just continue to keep going because at a certain point, you will 1000% come out of SATs and be shocked. Like it will be a jolt to the system because it'll feel like you were just somewhere else entirely, like for real, real. But keep going, absolutely. And what was the other part? Um, Also, when you knew it was done with hubby, what were your day-to-day thoughts like in the 3D? Honestly, when I was in the Sabbath, in reference to him, I didn't have any the biggest difference was I was no longer thinking from the place of absence. The intrusive thoughts were gone. I wasn't trying to figure out how to get him back. I wasn't missing him and the things that came from the state of desiring. Um, if I did have thoughts come up about him, it was just in reference to I can't, where do we want to go on vacation? Like, let's plan a trip to Japan. Things that you would be doing as a couple in a relationship, like the natural thoughts that you would be having. But for the most part, I just kind of went about my day to day. Yeah, good questions though. Can you be in a successful SATs and almost immediately snap back after or have it followed by a really bad backlash? Does going back quick after you make the sats futile? Um, I mean, we can absolutely, yeah, it is not uncommon. Not to say that it's going to happen. I'm not trying to instill fear in anyone or say, oh, if you have a successful sat session, you're going to immediately have backlash. I'm not saying that. It can, but ultimately, this is why it's important to just know what it is. That's why I made the video about ego backlash, because when we are aware of what is going on, that it's a defense mechanism, essentially, it's the ego resorting to last ditch efforts against change. It doesn't have that kind of grip and power anymore, but it's no longer going to affect you the same. You're going to know and see it for what it is. Know that this is temporary and this is just the futile resistance to change. But the more that you continue to go back to that end state, change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. So, no limitations to one's desires, excluding being a pro athlete or Hollywood star. Basically, it's an open world to experience in our lives. No limitations, yes. There's no, if you're talking about imagination, if you're talking about like what we can access in imagination, yes, it's limitless. Nothing is off limits. The only way that things are off limits is if we put the boundary on it. If we say that, oh, this could never happen, the conditions aren't right, yada, yada, then yeah, but any barrier in imagination is self imposed. And we can, in that case, lift the barrier. And that's what this practice is all about. This is really seeing that there are no limitations unless they're self imposed. We tend to get caught up in the 3D, of course, but the point isn't the 3D, it's experience it internally, experience it in here, first and foremost. And whatever needs to happen as far as 3D circumstance will happen. And that's the work of the subconscious. That's the work of God. We don't know what that looks like. No clue. But yeah, like no matter what, anything is accessible in imagination. So we ideally don't want to exclude anything, even if it feels far-fetched. Doesn't matter. It's an open world to experience. Absolutely. This is a really good one. I just went through a breakup. I'm sorry. Do you advise me to work on myself first for a while until I don't have feelings of negativity, or should I go straight to the end? Good question. Um, if you are able to, if you are going to the end without resistance, if you're not noticing any kind of pushback or feelings of resentment, I mean, then I would go to the end. I mean, whenever able, I would go to the end. That's always going to be the case. However, naturally, after a breakup, there's heightened feelings. There's probably a lot of anger. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of frustration. Um, that is where 1000% recommend revision. If there are things of the past that we are ruminating on, things that we are struggling with, revision. I talk about revision all the time on this channel and on these lives, and that is for a reason. So that we're not playing the double-mindedness game, so that we're not battling between feelings of love and longing and missing and feelings of resentment and frustration. Yeah. Yeah, revision is freedom. All right, got time for maybe one or two more. I find that the telephone technique really helps me getting out of my down moments. Today, I just simply thought of some action that my friend would do. He actually did it almost instantly. Amazing. Amazing indeed. I love it. Yeah, the telephone technique is great. I love having inner conversations. That also is one of my favorites. And yeah, more proof of the law. Build your faith with it. I know we don't have to feel good for something we want to manifest, but I find that when I feel bad, I feel like I'm not in the state. Yeah, yeah. I mean, naturally, that's true. When we're in a spiral or feeling blue, feeling down, it's going to feel like the desire is further away from us. It's going to certainly. Um, but when I emphasize the point that we don't need to feel good or amazing or happy, that's so that we don't get in the habit of trying to suppress our emotions. If we're taught that we need to be happy all the time to manifest, we're going to then try to suppress our feelings. We're going to then try to put on a brave face and smile and play pretend like we're perfect and happy. Uh, which, I mean, again, if that's something that does come more naturally, then I'm not going to say, don't be happy. But we don't need to try to put on an act. We don't need to try to force ourselves. And we especially don't need to shove any negative emotions or suppress any of our feelings. That's going to just come up inevitably anyways. That is not going to be an effective way to try to manifest what you desire. Yeah, I hate speaking in absolutes, but for the vast majority of people, that is going to be the least effective approach. So yes, of course, the preference is always going to be a good mood. We want to be in a good mood. We want to feel good. We want to feel happy. But the why I say that is so that we do not get fearful of our negative thoughts, so that we are not just trying to suppress and ignore or flip or battle our thoughts and reactions, because that's just expenditure of energy and ultimately going to lead to burnout. Ask me how I know. You are so welcome, JT. My problem with the telephone technique is I guess I don't really talk on the phone nowadays. That's fair. That's fair. But you could be talking to somebody in person, or you could just be having that mental conversation. Like, the vast majority of people already have that internal dialogue. At the very least, it's an internal monologue, but we usually have conversations going on with other people in our minds in the day to day. That's effectively the telephone technique. How are the cats? My kitten is over 16 pounds. Oh, big kitty. Yeah, kitten is a big boy. The cats are good. The cats are good. Shoot, I totally forgot to bring the Fosters in here. I'm so sorry, you guys. Ugh. Next week. Next week. You'll get to say hi to the babies. The little babies. They're rambunctious. Kitties are good. They're doing really good. They're getting fat and big. I love it. It isn't God's plan for you is such a huge cop out. I 1000% agree. Ugh, yeah. Don't ever accept any of that. It isn't God's plan for you. If it's meant to be, it'll be. You know, something better is supposed to come along. Nope. Drop all that. Drop all that. What if there are several things I want to revise from the past 6 years? Should I just say that the past 6 years have been great? Yeah, that's revision. That's effectively revision. You could be having a conversation with a friend, telling about how, these last 6 years have been incredible for you, that you have done all of the amazing things. That's revision. Mhm. We don't have to complicate this. We A lot of times it can feel daunting when we, first find out about revision, when we're going to apply revision, because we think we need to plan out all of these elaborate scenes. Like, I need to have a scene for every single negative encounter I've ever had, and that's not the case. And I may have contributed to that. I apologize, because that is something that I did. I had revised hundreds of negative events, things that had shaped me in a way that was not ideal. But that's not the only approach to take. There are so many ways that we can play around with revision. Yeah, Amy, that is absolutely something that you can utilize. Yes, great questions today, you guys. I don't want to. I don't want to. Y'all are so sweet. Yeah, an in-person meetup would be awesome. That would be so awesome. Let's make it happen, y'all. Let's make it happen. I got 20 acres out here. I got room. Let's go camping. Oh, much love to you guys. This has been so amazing. Unfortunately, I do need to jump off. Ugh, I really do need to do like a live Q&A-a-thon one of these times. We'll make that happen for sure. But you guys are amazing, sincerely. Awesome questions today. Thank you so much for being here. I've had so much fun. I hope you all take care of yourself. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I got to go jump into all of the emails. So, yes, if you are, I've made notes on a couple people here. I'll make sure to respond to you right away. And for the rest of you, much love. Take care of yourself. Keep an eye out. I got a new video coming in a couple days. It's going to help a lot of you. Much love, guys. Till next time. Bye.